at least now also, I always have had a chessboard on the table, always. And when I have some ideas or something, just to take them, sometimes even the position was there. I doubt if you have a chess set with you at all at the tournament. Do you have? Probably not. Only smartphone or maybe computer also. Mostly the young people don't use a chessboard at all. By the way, but there is another one image, what you have on the screen and what you later have it on the chessboard. It's not the same. Actually, once I have had training with a young girl from Italy, and I was surprised that when I asked her for any positions to find a good way, she always looked at the computer. I suppose that maybe she is looking there for a solution. No, she said to me, it's better for her to see the position on the screen than on the chessboard. But you will play on the chessboard, but not on the computer in your tournament. Once I was talking about this with the Grandmaster Shipov, who was a coach of Dubov. Yes, and I told him, and he also confirmed this and said that Dubov, when he was preparing, first he studied any variation on the computer, and then tried to repeat everything on the chessboard. And he was not always successful. Sometimes he could not repeat the same. It's another. So, and once during one of the previous lessons, I remembered how did I come to the move Bishop d3, the novelty that I used to play versus Tigran Peterson. I introduced this novelty and played only once. It means knight f3, knight f6, c4, e6, knight c3, b6, e4, bishop b7, and then usually the people played queen e2 or d3, but I introduced bishop d3. And when I find this idea, just few hours before the round, and not versus Petrosyan. Before the round, it was the last round in Olot in Spain in March 75. I was international master at that time, and I was not not ready to play this during the game, because last round I had no not so much self-confidence that time, and I was too modest or simply not was not ready to play this. So, and I played another way and I lost, and then that's another story. So, and the turning point in my chess career was in the autumn of the same year. I was still international master. I had some ideas in Europes, and I wanted to test it, and I had to play. It was a match. We have had a very nice tradition many years ago in the Soviet time, and that we have friendly matches with Yugoslavia. Soviet Union versus Yugoslavia. There were men boards, junior boards, or just junior matches. I played a lot of players. First I played the junior team, the Skarpov on one team, and from Yugoslavia I played Bojevic. So that we had this tradition. Sometimes we played as men, women, and juniors. I must remember that in the year 1962, when I was 10 years old, such a match was played in my home city, Lviv, and I visited that match. I collected autograms of all the players that I played later themselves. So, and I watched all the games. So, and in autumn 75 in Odessa, we played such a match, men team versus Yugoslavia. And I had to play one game because it was Semenigian system. And one day I had to play versus Grigorich. And Grigorich was expert in Rio Lopez. He played Rio Lopez always in his life with black. And I had idea I wanted to test. I was sure, okay, I will try. But I am sure that he will show me immediately that I'm wrong. He just immediately shows me that I'm wrong, will be okay. So, and that was the game, which was a turn point in my life, in my chess career, not life. So, knight f3, knight f6, knight c6, bishop b5, classical, mostly. There was also, some 100s variation or open variation was played very seldom, mostly only by Korchnoi, knight takes e4, or also Savon, I remember, played this, but not so many players. Mostly the people played classical position, rook e1, b5, bishop c5, by the way, was not played very often that time, bishop b3, d6 or castle. Castle is another option to play this Marshall gambit. c3. The game is d4. I showed last or 2 years ago, probably, versus what I have played versus Geller. Also 75 h3. So that is a classical starting position. The young players mostly, it's strange that that time, many years earlier, almost all the players played Rio Lopez. Or they play a classical Lopez, or they play Sicilian. But with white, mostly nobody played like Scotch. Nobody played Italian or Giocopiano, how they call, or two-knight defense. It was very rare games. So mostly was this, and old system, of course, is knight a5, bishop c2, c5. That is just bishop c2, c5, d4, that is Chigorin. Keres Keres introduced it in 1962 in Curacao candidate tournament 97. That is a Keres system, what I played mostly that time with black, or normal queen c7. And another was in 60s, was popular, except of this Keres system, was popular Smyslov system h6. Knight d7 knight d7 was popular later due to Karpov and Spassky, maybe, but mostly Karpov, knight d7. All the old, what they played mostly was at that time was Breyer system, knight b8. By the way, if you don't know what is later, popular was Zaitsev system with bishop b7. What is the difference, if you know? Difference is this, that knight b8, d4, knight d7, knight d2, bishop b7, and knight f1, rook e8. Then the main way is to bring a knight to g3. When you play the Zaitsev system, bishop b7, d4, rook e8, knight d2, bishop f8, and white has no possibility to bring a knight to f1 because the pawn on e4 is hanging always. Even after bishop c2, they started to play g6, for instance, and still when your knight is moving, there is changing on d4, knight b4, and the pawn on e4 is lost. That was the main idea of Zaitsev's system, which was popular a few years later. So that changed a little bit approach to this to this variation. But it's another point that when you play bishop h3, bishop b7, d4, rook e8, they now started to play with a4, which was played many games in the matches between Kasparov. Kasparov played it with white, and I suppose it was introduced by Sachs, by Gyula Sachs. Knight b8 is another. Then this is not so promising. A4. The main idea is that somehow the knight on c6 is wrong place. So knight b8, knight d4, knight b7, knight d2, bishop b7, bishop c2, rook e8, knight f1, bishop f8, and usually the main line here is knight g3. But at that time, I just saw another idea, and I tried to combine both plans. So not to play knight g3. Sometimes the people play knight g3, bishop g5, and then move back to e3 or to d2, queen c1. But I tried to combine both that plans with playing bishop g5 here, in that moment. That was actually my preparation. Sorry. That was my idea, that I suppose it is a little bit wrong, and Grigorich will immediately refute this idea and tell me that I am completely wrong. Not to play knight g3 because after h6, when knight is on f1, I still can move bishop to h4 after h6, because h6 looks logical here. Otherwise, sometimes maybe I can sacrifice even a piece on g5, but for emergency case I always have bishop g6. So h6 and bishop h4. Grigorich played c5. Now,
was it possible to accept the pawn on e4? I mean, take on d4 and then on e4.
not yet.
No, I played g5. And
Yeah,
then,
that I will show you later.
Okay.
Game. There is also option to take. I will show later this one. So de5, c5, de5. Just turn off the the sound that it doesn't disturb me and you. So d takes e5 now. Mostly better is to take on e5 because when you take on c5 you can take also by knight. So d e5. The plan that Fischer introduced many times is to play immediately here knight h2 with a knight on f1 still. Then later he can bring his queen to f3 and we see what to do with the knight from f1, maybe even to e3 sometimes. So knight h2, bishop. Now g5 has no reason anymore to play because f5 cube is weak. Grigorich played bishop e7. But this gives me a possibility to play knight f3 e3 now. Now, as far as I see, you cannot play g5 because of one moment is simply knight f5, and even if you win back, if you win a pawn, knight f5, or maybe even, I don't know, we can even immediately sacrifice a piece, or just to play bishop e3, bishop g3 first, and then it's very unpleasant knight f5. So it will be a big weakness on h6. So knight h7. If he plays g6, then will be a question what to do after queen f3. And also, if you play g6, it would be better to have it with bishop on f8. But this pin is very annoying. So g6 is not the reason. Oh, sorry, is this position.
What if g6, queen f3, knight h7?
You mean g6, queen f3, knight g7?
Yeah.
Okay, but that's nothing. Just take on e7, knight g4, knight d5, queen g3, even with threat knight f5. This just weaknesses. If you want to play knight h7, why do you need to play? Because you want to stop me. Yeah, okay. Bishop e7. Sorry, after knight e3, he played knight h7. You're right. He played knight h7. Queen f3, knight h7. Bishop takes e7. How do you want to? You mean that without g6?
The pawn is on g6.
Sorry, no. That was in this position he played. In this position he played. Without. Okay, but when you play g6, then you will have problems after knight g4 with that pawn. Don't forget, it's also pawn is there. Bishop e7, rook e7, or queen e7. But he decided to put a rook, maybe a queen to b6, somehow protecting the 6th rank. And to put a rook to e6. So, rook takes, knight f5, rook e6. Mostly you cannot win only on one side. The rule opens why is very unpleasant for Black Sox positions that white can play from both sides. a4. Now, sometimes these both pawns can be weak, and also rook on a8 can be attacked one moment. Knight df6. Queen f3, it's clear. Change. No, oh, sorry, I played not queen f3. I played first queen e2. Just to give it, just to attack a pawn. Now he played rook b8. if he would play c, if he would play here c4, bishop b3. Another option could be rook d1, now rook e, of course, to d1, queen c7, and queen e3, controlling the black squares, and sometimes on queen g3 may be threat. Oh, and rook on e6 is so not clear what to do. But another option is, of course, simply to play here in this position, just to play b3. Also typical. Or he gets a weak pawn on c4, or we get our bishop on b3. So he played rook b8 instead of c4. No, we don't need to put our queen to f3 anymore. We have other plans now. Queen e3. Now he has to think about the c pawn. What to do. Queen f8 played. Queen f8 for the reason maybe one moment he will play g6. But somehow queen is away, far away. Now knight is going knight is going here because the pawn e5 might be weak on too. h5. h5 is a typical move. He wants to play g6, but mostly they play it with bishop on f8. When black has both have black squared bishop. He played h5 here. We don't attack anymore on there. We have another side. Taken, and rook a5. Both pawns are weak. Bishop c6. Probably the only options to protect the pawn. Bishop c6. Now is rook a7. So black has to forget about for a long time about g6, and also they cannot play, never can play rook e7. The pawn on c7 is weak now, and rook is we are going to to double rooks. Sometimes maybe even white can play knight g5, maybe. Bishop e8. He wants to have option to play g6. Rook c7. By the way, g6 doesn't bring so much because after knight h6, he cannot so easy, for instance, he cannot so easy protect everything because he never can win this pawn, this knight on h6. And another option could be always rook takes c5, and later even knight g5 because there will be over the check on f7. If king on h8, if king on g7, he never can take it also on h6. So playing c4, we must protect the pawn. c4. Now it's another time to bring a rook. Rook a1. Rook d8. Wants to play rook d7, at least to change this one rook. And now is a typical b3. Or he takes on b3, then we have a fantastic bishop on b3. Or he gets a weak pawn on c4. Not a good choice. And you see, you look at the queen from f8 has no moves. g6. Now he played g6. Knight h6. King h8. Take, changing on c4, and another rook on a7. Rook d7. Because if bishop d7, and then it's possible bishop a4. So he played rook d7. Rook takes d7. Knight takes d7. Why not to take? Because it is, you wanted to protect both this and this. He took by pawn. Because anyway, it could be bishop. Bishop a4 is always possible. Even after bishop d7, bishop a4 is possible again. If bishop d7, bishop a4 also possible, because when he takes on a4, we take first on f7 by knight, and then we go back, and then take a bishop back. So, bishop a4, rook d6. Queen e7. Queen e7 would be losing by bishop d7, bishop d7, and just take here, simply, because of queen d4 next move. And knight f6 will be queen takes e5 and knight f7. So he tried to protect my rook. You see how the terrible, very poor pieces are black. Knight on h8 is annoying. Rook d6, but bishop takes d7 anyway. Because bishop takes, rook, bishop takes. No, something is wrong. Oh, sorry. Why? Bishop rook on d6. Bishop takes. He just gives a pawn. Rook takes, bishop takes, and no. He just gave up a pawn. Knight takes e5. So white won already pawn, and the knight on h6 is still alive. And he cannot win. Bishop e8. If bishop e6, then queen d4 is winning. Because next move will be knight takes f6. Knight takes f7. Okay. He cannot take on h6, he cannot play queen g7, because anyway will be knight takes f7. So he played bishop e8. And just knight takes c4. We have already two pawns. King g7. Queen d2. Sometimes we want to have knight d6, sometimes we want to have queen d4. Not immediately, because knight is hanging there. f6 wants to play knight g5 at least, but h4. So the pieces are not playing. Queen e7. He played queen e7, knight d6. Knight f5 is a threat already. Queen d7. And we want to play knight h6 to f7 if he plays bishop d7 and queen h6 later. So he played queen d7 and just queen f4. Queen e6, and that was after fourth move, but I think it was not a joint, or not a joint. Queen e6 and g4. Now we want to get our knight back. And g4, hg4. First to take on e8, queen takes, and knight takes here. And we have a threat already, e5. Queen f7, he played, and e5, the simplest way to win. You must play f5, queen h6, king g8, and again the simplest way to win, just h5. He has to take on h5, he has to take on h5, knight f6, takes, and we simply change the queens and win king g2 was king g6, king g3, takes, and f4, and black resigned. So I was a little bit surprised by that after that game, that I won this game, actually. Razas Lopez expert in this system, and so convincingly. So he got no. Actually, he never had a good chances. So next game was that I played. That was played 75, and this one game was played in Hastings. Will you help me? Hastings, it was December 76 to January 77.
It was very nice first game. Thank you, Oleg.
Yeah, it was a very good game, actually, a very classical game. Unfortunately, the most of players, younger players, don't play classical Lopez. That started probably from Kasparov. He introduced Scotch. I think it's Kasparov introduces Scotch, and there was this idea queen d2.
Scotch campaigns.
Scotch game, huh?
Was it not Fischer in 72 or 73 with his the most famous games is Scotch, who introduced the idea with I think with C3 with classical variation. Wasn't it Fischer?
C3?
Yes,
What
with
do you mean?
C3 in Scotch in classical variation after Queen F6.
Maybe, but Fischer played sometimes he played some rare openings, but mostly he played classical.
Yeah.
Mostly he played classical Lopez.
Mm.
Especially he played rather scarce many games after knight d7, and they had the discussion why Keres said that this continuation d takes e5 after knight d7 was not so good because Fischer or something was not so good because he did not repeat it, but Fischer said, but Keres also did not repeat the same variation they discussed it because first attempt was, by the way, knight d5 in Keres system is a good move, but Fischer played badly in their first game in Curacao. He played something like g4, what was completely wrong. He was preventing f5, which now everybody knows that f5 doesn't bring equal for black. So, but that game he played g4, and after h5, one moment h5, he lost very quickly. So, and later he started to change on d5. So, but now the people play d5 again. So, another next game was versus Kreidman from Israel. It's the same variation. Bishop b5. So, all the same. f6, castle, bishop e7, rook e1, b5, bishop b3, d6. Okay, move order can be different. h3, knight b8, d4, knight d7, knight here, bishop b7, bishop c2, rook e8, knight f1, bishop f8, and bishop g5. So, I repeat it. h6 and h6, bishop h4, and he played this moment g5. And you suggest to take first here.
No, I don't know. I mean, I don't know which order.
Let us see if it's not dangerous later for him when we come with a knight to f5. Maybe even immediately will be dangerous, no? If you take, we take by knight.
G5 the same, yes.
Sorry?
And G5 then the same. Isn't it the same?
No, it's not the same. Because I changed on e5.
Ah, I see.
Knight d4, g5. And how do you take now? Is the question.
Knight takes e4.
Knight takes e4.
Queen d3, yeah? I mean,
When is knight c4?
No.
knight c5, queen h7.
Knight b6.
No, we just can play knight f5 maybe. Because or queen f3 first. And then you play knight c5. Or knight f5. Because when you take on g3, we take by another knight. There's knight another is coming. Maybe it's possible, but it is dangerous. This is really dangerous. He played g5 first. But then I changed here on e5. And he played, he took by knight. If he takes by pawn, we just can play bishop g3, because after knight h5, we can take on e5, probably, because the knight is hanging there. So if you, for instance, and we take by knight, when we take by knight, you take by knight on g3, we take knight on d7, and you take on f1. Because knight takes e4, Oh, if you play here, if we take here, he takes, we can take here first. And if he takes on e4, by knight will be knight g3 unpleasant, and he cannot move rook e8, knight f6. So maybe he has to take here on f1 here. And if we, what can we do? We can
Take on a fake.
to take on f8 maybe. But he has something like maybe knight d2, knight d2 then.
Maybe we can go e5 first.
Sorry,
E5 first?
e5
Yeah, e5.
here? No, but here e5. e5, maybe it's possible. But no, he will play bishop g7 anyway.
But we can take the knight later on.
Knight on f1 to take knight of f1, but will we get how do we go out?
No,
E5, bishop
Bishop
d7,
is
queen
queen
d3.
d3.
Sorry? So, e5 and queen d3, also possible. Also possible. So another option is to take by bishop on e5. Here. I think the knight is here. Just interesting if we can take by bishop or not. Knight e5. No, this doesn't work because he takes on e5. We takes on e5. He takes queen. We take by we take a queen by bishop. He takes on he takes on e5. We takes on h4, and he takes by rook on e4. So this doesn't work. So we have to take by knight. And if after de5, here, what is the knight?
6.
Sorry?
6.
f6. So de5. What is wrong?
Yeah,
Yes. He can take here. Then we take on f6. Queen takes on f6, and just knight e3. And we are coming to this class. d5, f5, g4. So he took by knight. He took by knight. And I played bishop g3. Back. He moved back to d7. If he takes on f3, we take by queen e7. We just play knight e3. And after bishop e3, we take by bishop, and he cannot take by queen. So the squares are very, very weak. Knight e d7. And now white change their mind. We don't need to sacrifice a pawn. He has, and also preventing knight h5. So he had problems. Bishop g7. And just make a space square for a knight coming to g3 and to f5. And he played d5 now. No, but knight g3 is a terrible threat. He has to do something. He played d5, e5, e5, knight e4, knight f3. So he cannot take on e5. c5. Knight e3. And now he took on e5, which is probably the only move, I think. I thought at that time, at least. He has to take, I think. Okay, otherwise I just play knight f5. So he has to take. But this is a pawn sacrifice. White. Take, changing, and queen h5. Not knight g4, because then rook e6 would be. Do we have enough compensation here? What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Rook e6 would be the line. Rook e6, knight g4. Because knight f5 would be queen f6. Rook a d1 doesn't work so good. And what about f3? No, this is not. Maybe that would be nice variation of rook e6 if he play f3. f3, knight g3, queen g4, d4 he has to play. Yeah, he has to somehow to save the pieces. d4, knight f5. Take. Queen f6. Queen h7. Rook takes a6, and he must take by queen. Yeah. But maybe this is not so clear, because take, check here, and just rook d8, and black is okay already. So that is why maybe after rook a6 is knight g4 better in this position, whereas the pawn is here, knight on f1. This, I think that is king, rook e6, queen d8, rook, and pawn. Whereas the knight is on. Knight is on e3. So knight g4 looks better. Knight g4, queen d6, or queen f8. Queen d6, and now f3. Knight g3, rook takes e6. This to take by queen, and then we take. Yeah, he plays this. We take. He must take by queen. Oh, now we can even take on. Oh, here we can even take on h6 and take on g5, or we can take by queen on h6, because the knight is in very dangerous position there.
No, the knight will come to h5.
To h6,
h5.
to h5, yes, but okay. And if you take by knight, what you do now?
Yeah, now it's
You have to go king f8 or what? Or king h7. No, king h7 is bishop there.
King f8.
King f8, queen takes g5. Knight what? What? King f8, we just take here. Not, he has no checks. Yeah, knight e2, just king goes away. Just go away. We are already pawn up. Not him, but we. And knight f5, there is a lot of threats already. So that's what he did not. He played queen f8 in the rook, knight, rook, queen, knight is on e3, rook on e1, pawn on g5 and h6. Oh, sorry, this is queen f8, yes. Queen f8, but now is f4. Pawn is on f2. But now is f4 possible. Now, knight f6. Queen f3. gf4, queen f4. Queen f4. He played rook e8, another one. Rook e6 would be bishop f5. Rook e6, bishop f5, rook d6, just rook d1. And there is a and if rook e8, we just play knight g4. Because he always then has a very weak 8 rank. So he played rook e8 immediately. In this position, he played rook e8. Knight was on. Rook is on e5. Yes, sorry. Rook is here. So rook queen takes. Rook takes e3. Rook takes. The rook is here. Rook takes, and rook f1. With a threat like bishop g6, maybe, sometimes. Bishop g6, bishop c8. Still defending, preventing any queen f5 or bringing a rook there. Bishop g6. And now he played bishop e6. Better was rook e7. Better was rook e7. But then maybe we can play rook f3, queen e8, and rook g3. And probably win. Rook g3. He played bishop instead of this. He played bishop e6. Queen f4. Uh-huh.
Queen f4 and bishop f7.
Yes, and bishop f7. This is how I won. Bishop f7, queen takes f7, queen takes f7, queen b8, boom. King g7, I think. Then take, check. Oh, sorry, but it's a little bit. So a little bit. A little bit. Huh?
So,
No, because there's. Okay, now it's better. Okay. Queen g3. So the queen was here. And then we win a pawn. Very important pawn. Bishop f7. Queen takes. c5. It's just technical winning. Rook b2. Rook b2. Queen d4 check. Maybe it was no after king g. Rook queen d4 check, and he has to go to g8 only. Yes, because after he has to go to g8. No. There is queen a7. Otherwise, it's queen a7. And so he has to protect the bishop. Then give me this check. King h7. Queen f5 check. And now we have time for c4. We control a square. Rook takes a2, c5. Of course, it's the pawn is winning. c5. Rook a1, king h2. Rook c1. And I think few checks. Queen g4. King f8. Queen d7. Just promoting the pawn. And that is now the designs.
Very nice.
Because losing some pieces. Yeah. Yes, by the way, there's no moves actually. Already no moves. Yeah, because king e7 is queen e5 and then going f7, f8 and queen f4. Losing the rook. So, and after that I played one more game. I think that I played, maybe I'm not sure, I played one more game with Kakageldeev, but I'm not sure, I have to check it. Another game that was famous, actually was versus Spassky in Tilburg round robin tournament, 1978-9. It was last round. It was half a point behind of Karpov, but actually I had no big hope to to catch Karpov because he played last round versus Smyslov with white, and Smyslov was very unsuccessful in that tournament. And Karpov won, but for me it was also important to win the game. Then I was here second, then behind Karpov. Round robin stone tournaments with Sportfish, Hort, Timman, Sachs. I lost to Sosonko. I won with Timman and Hort 2 first rounds. And then Larsen was draw, Kavalet was draw, Portish was draw. Won with Smyslov with black and won the last round with Spassky. So, in the same opening, all the same. That time all of them played. By the way, later they started to play Zaitsev, changed for the Zaitsev system, and later the people came back to Breyer's system because they did not like this system was A4, I suppose. So Breyer became popular again. So bishop e7, e1, b5, b6, c3, castle, h3, knight b8, d4, knight d7, bishop, knight d2, bishop b7, bishop c2, rook e8. That was the difference that in Zaitsev system, black has a tempo, knight a5, one move, and here they made 2 moves to open the diagonal. Knight f1. I have to admit I lost one game when in this system. I played Breyer system few games myself also in the middle of 70s before we changed all to Zaitsev system. So I played in the year 2012 versus Kashlinskaya with white. I lost. It was a snowdrop versus old hands tournament in Czech Republic. I was playing for senior team with Hort Olafsson and Ullman. So they all passed away. I was the youngest in the team with 60. I lost to Kashlinskaya. Actually, I would say that I lost not because of the opening, but just she played maybe better, but I pushed too hard. I was sure I have to win, especially I played versus her e4 because I saw that she is playing this. Stone, knight, bishop g5, h6, and Spassky introduced queen c8. And what did Kashlinskaya, by the way? She played g6 immediately here instead of g6, and after changing on e5, d, Kashlinskaya played like here g6, and after change knight j2, she just played bishop g7. So she played that way. And Spassky played versus me queen c8 here. Now he is attacking from her pawn already. So I played here d5. It's typical. That's always this move. d5, d5. Knight h2 and c5. He put his queen to c6. Queen f3 and queen c6. defended the squares that way. Another option could be to play a5 immediately. Rook a1, c4. Rook a1, c4. Knight e3, I think. Knight e3, yes. It's more flexible, of course. Knight e3. Now, this knight is hanging still. He played g6, but if he doesn't move his knight, then f6 is hanging. So after g6, also hanging there. The knights are hanging still. Both knights defending themselves. Rook d2. Okay, we have a file. Rook d2, bishop e7. And because when he puts rook to d8, the rook will be pinned. Bishop e7, and I think rook d1. Not sure, but want to check it. Yes, rook d1. Still not easy to move the pieces. Queen e6. How he should defend? How he should defend his pieces here? Rook d8, but it's not very pleasant to be under the pin. Sometimes. Queen e6. Queen and knight g4. No, not this. Probably. Another one. Yes, another one. And what he has to do now, if he plays h5, then knight g and knight f5. Then taken on f5, taken on e7. And he is losing pieces. So, knight g4. He played king g7 immediately, so without h6. And again, the same, a typical move when the black played c4. B, we want to take on c4 to create him a very weak pawn, and bishop comes from a4. h5 he played. Would be interesting idea if he plays rook ab8, for instance. We can take, and we can play this move. Bishop takes e4, then we have knight takes f6, bishop takes, the queen. We take here, he has to take by a rook. We take here, he takes our rook. We take on e6, we take on h4, we have intermediate move of bishop d7 and win piece. So,
Did you calculate this in the game?
yes, I should. But we had, that time we had 2.5 hours for 40 moves. It's not like now, you know. I should calculate, I suppose. At least, oh, no, but I would maybe I would not calculate everything, but I saw the ideas because he did not play rook b8. So he did not play rook b8 yet. Then I would consider that I know that I have some ideas with all that options. Knight f6, knight is on e7, then is pawn on e4, queen on e3, rook here. So he did not play this. He played something different. Where is my knight? Was on
G4.
on g4, and bishop is here.
And
So
black taking on g4 at any moment was that, yeah? Knight g4.
knight g4.
Always that for black, yeah?
You mean here or where?
Here or yeah, at some moment, yeah. Knight g4, then
Knight g4. Let me see. Knight g4. When I take on,
maybe you simply take on g4 and then when
I take on g4 and then
then
I take on d7 and
okay.
d6 and
Knight d4, maybe bishop e7 as well.
no, knight g4, knight g4. What he has to do after that?
Because if you take on e7, knight e3, I don't know.
Knight e3, queen e3, rook e7, rook d6, and
Ah,
rook
yeah,
queen e3.
okay.
Yeah,
there is a
but
good-
what is after knight g4? Just knight g4.
Yeah.
Mm.
Also,
How to protect both d6 square and knight on d7?
difficult.
Yeah. What he did, let me take a look. He played h5. Yeah, it's typical. He played many times, but all that mostly the center is closed in such position. Rook ac8 was another option. Would be more or less the same with the difference take, bishop a4, bishop c6. Yes. But then, for instance, just this is possible. Rook c8, take, bishop, take, and finding that his queen is trapped. His queen is trapped. So he played h5. In this moment he played h5. Okay, sir. Knight f6, knight f6. Knight f6. bc4, bc4. I just changed everything. Take, and take here, and just one pawn. Just a pawn, and it's a clear advantage now for white. Bishop is rook e7 is to play. There are two threats: rook d7 and knight d6. Rook e7, knight d6 anyway. Rook c7. Sorry?
C4. Oh,
Rook c7. No, there is no. I won a pawn.
oh, now C4.
No, first I play bishop. First I activate the bishop.
Okay.
First activate the bishop. And bishop c6. And now c4 I play. Stopping him from bishop b5. Rook b8 and c4. That is different because I cannot stay like that. I must push a pawn. Bishop g5, rook d3. Maybe rook c2 was better. Yeah, just to protect the pawn. Rook c2, I played rook d3. h4. And g3. Maybe I wanted that here's not a square easy for a bishop. Rook b4. And I have now to take finally, but it's not easy to win this position. It's pawn, but it's not easy to win. And bishop d5. And I want to change it and to get a pass. But there is knight c8 is another one. But maybe not knight c8 because then he takes on e4. Oh, take on e4 is not so dangerous too. But also just rook takes d5 and will be all the threats the same. He played here bishop b5. If he would play bishop a4, then rook c1. Just rook is coming to c1 and pawn is protected. So bishop b5 and I changed this one. I changed on b5. A b5 and c6. Pawn up and chances to win. And he played rook b2, and I should play here rook b2, I should play rook f3, but I played rook f1. Rook f3 was stronger, of course. I played rook f1, that was a bad move, and the game was adjourned. It was the fourth move for rook f1. He played bishop e7, and now I played rook f3. I would not let him to, if I play this, he cannot bring his knight, his bishop to c5. And I unfortunately played 40 move this, maybe short small time travel, as usual, and we had the position was adjourned, game was adjourned. I don't remember who sealed the move. And now rook b3, rook changes, and rook a7 would be not easy to win. If I play rook b3, he will take, pawn takes, and rook a7, and probably he will blockade everything. That was a nice tournament. There was a break, 2 hours between before the adjournments. We got everybody got a room. There were only 12 players in the building. Everybody got a room, chess set, and dinner. And do what you want. You want to sleep, sleep. You want to eat, eat. You want to analyze, it's up to you what you want. Now I played rook f3 anyway. And he moved back to g5 because he wants to stop me from. Oh, by the way, bishop c5 was probably not possible. Rook f7, no? Perhaps it works. Bishop d6 he can play, but then rook d1. And then I will slowly push him. Rook on f3 must be. Bishop g5, he wants to have bishop f3. Rook d1, now you see, now I went back. So the difference was that bishop would be on h4. It would be better for white, of course. b4, rook d3, rook b4, rook d3, bishop f4, And now rook b3. And this is a little bit different because he will not block me so easy. Now if he changes, rook b3. If he would take, rook takes, bishop d2, then king f1, and he never can play bishop c3 because of a3. King f1, king e2. Rook a7 he has to play, king e2, bishop c3, and anyway I have a3 move because there is a pawn c5. So yeah, if he takes, I take, he goes here, go here, rook a7, king e2, and if he plays this, anyways, a3. Bishop is controlling the important square and the pawn. So he played rook takes a2. Where was the bishop? I don't remember. It was on on g5. Still on g5. No, bishop on f4 was. So he took here, and I took on b4. It means that bishop is wrong, and I still go to b7. I still go to b7, rook c2, and rook b6, because he wants just to, after rook b7, he will take on c6, and I will never win. Then I have first to protect this one. I can play rook another to b3, rook a7, and rook b7. Rook a6 and rook b7. This way. g5, rook fb3. King f6 you played. If you would play king f8, and then king f8, and then it's that is rook b7, and then taking d6, and the pawn is hanging. So he played king f6, and I suppose I just changed here a rook b7 I played, because now I change a rook, and this end game because of this pawn on g5 is winning already. Rook b7, he has to take, and rook b6, I don't remember which one, is it important or not. Rook 3b6, rook b6, rook b6. King is on g1, sorry. Take, king g7, and I suppose that this is winning because the king is coming to d5, and d6 and e7, and then attacking the pawn. So king f1, f6 he played, king e2 then, f6, king e2. He wants to come by the king to h4. King g6, king d3, king d3, bishop h2, rook c6. We look what he does here. Bishop g1, bishop g1, f3, king h5, I think. No, bishop h2 first, because his bishop is better. He wants to bring his to f4, bishop h2, king c4, maybe was better just to play rook c8 and after king h5 to give him a check. Maybe that was better to have a check always. But I play this. He played king h5. Rook takes f6. He played bishop h4. Why he did not play this? Because
The rook f5.
no, rook f5, bishop f4. If king h4, then rook h6, king g3. That would be winning.
Rook h6, rook h for the h4.
Yeah, this is winning. This, take, and h4. And this, yeah, g4 he has to play.
G takes h4?
Sorry,
G takes h4, how will white win that?
we come with the king to f5. We come with the king to f5 and take on e5.
Sacrifice rook.
So he has to play then h5. Bishop f4, rook g6, and h6. And this promoted. This bishop cannot stop a pawn. So that is why he played bishop f4 instead of king h4. Is that rook, this, that pawn is on f3. I send king d3 back. Now I'm king h4 and king h4, rook h6, king g3, king e2. So g4 doesn't work because of rook g6. He played bishop c1 and rook g6. What was the idea? If he takes on h3, I play f4
You play
and
king f2 and then mate.
sorry?
King f2, you play king f2 and then mate.
King f2 simply, yeah. King f2, yes, probably. King f2, yes. And if he plays bishop f4, if he plays bishop f1, then h4. He has to take by king. And then we come to g4 without no problems. He played king h2 in this position. King sorry, it was like that.
Thank you, Mr. Romanishin.
Thank you. He played rook on g6. He played king h2. No, he played no.
Yes, king
King is on g3. Yeah. He played this move, and I played this. why he resigned. Oh no, sorry, not h4. Not h4. I played better. I played f4. F4 looks to be better. Yeah, and king is coming.
Yeah, then h4 if he takes, yes?
If he
Yeah,
takes
then
king
king
f3
f3
first,
King f3, yeah.
and then h pawn.
Or king g4 maybe.
Yeah, his king is out.
Yeah. f4 is nice.
F4, yes. Otherwise, the pawn is running here. So, F4, and if you have time, we can take a look for one more game. It's a little bit strange game with again strange idea, which was, I think that was played later, and maybe that's another game, another what I introduced versus Belavsky in Zaitsev system. By the way, Zaitsev system I had to play for both sides.
So
Because-
what should black play against bishop g5? What's black?
Sorry?
Against this bishop g5 idea, what is black's best?
After bishop g5?
King f3.
I don't know. No, he means from the open.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know, later the people stopped to play. They started to play Zaitsev system. Yeah. And later, so everything changed. It's not easy to tell you what. Maybe like Ashlinska played was better with h6 and g6, maybe. Another funny game with very, very funny idea. Yeah. Idea was really funny. So, yeah. It was a Zaitsev system. I don't know if the people know this game. But nobody left. Only few. Only few people left. Yeah. Where is Rosenthal? He left. He's going to play Blitz or
I
what?
don't know.
So, okay, now we go to the. But it is funny game, really. Knight c6, bishop b5.
Thank you.
You go, yeah?
Who is black?
Black was Belavsky.
Ah,
Soviet Championship
Yeah.
79. Rook e1, b5, bishop b3, d6, castle, h3. Now the people play c3 h. So now the people play bishop b7. Started to play that time. Bishop b7, d4, rook e8, rook e8, d4, rook e8, knight bd2. Yeah, classical position. Bishop f8, and now is very funny move. Some people play it with ideas like the f4, but idea is completely different. Rook e7 must play, and now d5. Now we play d5. Completely different idea. d5 and d5. Now later it was played. I think it was played by Tima, and maybe reaction of Capo was the best one. He should play knight a5, bishop c2, then c6. Actually, when the d5 is always must be played c6. Yes. b4, take on c6. Bishop takes on c6, and now white should stop a5 by a4, but they have no time because of d5. Because of d5, they have no time to do it. And otherwise, black play themselves a5, and it's very good for them. So that is, and here rook is even well eventually coming to d7. So that should be played. That's why later the people stopped to play, I think. I don't know, because there are many things that people play. So, and he played, but he played wrong. He played here a knight b8. It is too slow. Knight b8 is too slow. The problem is, what do you do with my knight on g5? It's just a psychological task. I would say there was more psychology that time than now, because now there is no time for psychology. Now you have to play quickly. You have just to learn what the computer says, what is the main suggestion and main variation. And the problem is, what do you do with the knight on g5? After that, I played just normal knight f1. Okay, I want to do the same. And if you play h6 and I go to f3, rook is a little bit wrong. If you go here, it means that we both lost two tempi. And he. But he played h6, which is not necessary. So it is, so nobody wants to accept that it's something wrong. So it would be okay. Then he has to play g6. Usually the people play h6 after when white plays at least bishop g5. Otherwise, just, and also now he has not time for everything to cover. So he did not play it. He preferred to play knight d7, I think, or rook is on e7. To play rook e8 also not so not so pleasant, lose the time. Knight bd7. If you would play h6 and knight d7 and c6, then yeah, you go knight f3 and knight e3. And gain control in d5 and f5. Both squares, if he plays, for instance, here h6, I go here, c6, and now my knight is not on d2. I have already knight e3. And he has to be careful. Now, bishop is still there on b7, and knight is again on b8. So he played here knight d7. Looks okay. Knight d7. Knight g3 now. Now, for the reason that bishop is on b3. By the way, bishop was on b3, it would be even stronger with a knight e3 and taken by two pieces. So now I played knight g3 because sometimes there is ideas with attacking e4. Knight g3, protecting, and knight f5 is a threat. Little bit unpleasant threat. g6. g6. Just bishop e3. Maybe knight b6 was better here. Maybe one of the options was to play knight b6, but to be ready that I can take b6. He played queen c8. Queen c8, preparing c6, and rook c1. Just against the queen. Knight c5. I did not want to take here, because later he will bring his knight to d6. He would have already bishop h6 one moment. So bishop c2. I don't need actually. Everything is protected. That's why knight was here better. And d6 a little bit weak when you play c6. But he has to play c6. c6, b4, knight d7, and bishop goes back. Bishop goes back, and we again have control with f7 point, and we want to play c4 next time. Just to play c4. Finally, Belavsky decided to play h6, but the wrong moment. What was much better to do it before, and now was too late to play h6 because there is. Sorry, no. It's very nice move, knight a6, and knight has no squares. Okay, you can go taken by pawn, pawn takes, knight b8, queen takes d6, and this is actually like almost over.
Yes, no space at all.
No space, no pieces, nothing. Nothing is playing. And another pawn is hanging on e5. Nothing is playing at all. He never can move a rook from e7 because pawn is knight, rook, queen, nothing is playing. Yeah. So he did not take. So he had chosen a wrong moment to play h6. And now he has to give up a bishop. Now, it's something is wrong with knight on g3. Yes, he has to give up a bishop. cd5, knight f8, knight f8, he has to take cd5, knight f8, he has to take by queen to protect the pawn, and just cd5. The next move will be c4, what he cannot prevent. And knight on d7 is doing nothing, no squares. Bishop, just bad position. He played h5, or knight h7 would be another option to bring another knight to f6. It's just a poor solution. So, no, king h7. King h7 was to protect a pawn on h6. Because he played h5, and now be another unpleasant piece. Bishop g5. Rook e to e8. Knight e4 is a threat already. One moment. Or f4 or c4 is the same. Rook e to e8. Queen d2. Queen g7. Something to do. He played queen g7 and c4. Queen g7 and c4. Finally. c5 is a threat. Takes, knight b6 and back. Rook c7 is a threat. Rook ac8. Because if knight bd5, then we take
Bishop f6.
yes, and rook c7. and over. If he takes by another knight, then just a4. So he played rook ac8. I'm sorry, I just want to go to bathroom for one moment. Okay? Sorry. Another knight, then a4 just. And the same ideas. So he cannot take a pawn. He played, I think, he played here rook ac8. And bishop h6. Just disturbing him a little bit. Queen h8. Queen h7 would be another option. Queen h7, you just can play bishop e3. So there will be, after changing on b6, will be a threat knight e4 on d6 and f6. If knight from f takes. So knight bd5. Knight bd5, then just bishop d5. Cannot take by bishop because bishop g5 will be he has to take by knight. That's why queen on h7 is bad, because now is knight e4 and taking on b6 threatening. Rook c1, rook c1, rook d8 must be played. Rook d8, bishop, rook d8, bishop g5, or rook c7 was another option. To play rook c7, yes, rook c7, bishop a8, rook c7, rook c7, bishop a8, and now we have a big choice. Even knight g5. For instance, we can play even like that. Knight g5, he has to go here probably. We take, and he goes here. Rook a7. Threatening to take, has to take, queen takes. And if bishop d5, then even we can win like that. And queen d3. So if bishop c6, that will be another way to win. With bishop c6.
You can play at some moment also h4 just to
Yes,
fix the knight
but,
there.
yes, but if we can win immediately, rook h7, and then he did not cover the square. Rook h7, queen f8, and knight e6. Even taking rook d8 or queen h6 or everything is possible. It would be also a funny idea, instead of rook c7, to play bishop g5, but it is a little bit So, not professional, I would say. In this position, we could this, bishop when it's there, just to try to mate, if you like. Bishop g5. Bishop g5. He has to play rook d7. Now you can take if you like. Would be funny ideas. This rook c8. Rook c8. King g7. Now knight f6. And
G8.
no, the threat is to take and bishop f6. Also this, but okay, it's just for fun. There another one when it's, but he played queen h8. He just wanted to cover black squares. How it was. Knight is on g3, bishop on h6. A rook. I think both rooks are still on the board. Queen on b2. Bishop on b3. Bishop on b3. Yes, knight on f6. Rook c8, f6, and this one here. Pawn on d5, still alive. Bishop e3, indeed. And he cannot yeah, he cannot now take by f knight. I take on b6 and queen takes d6 and on g6 is hanging. So if he takes with b pawn, with knight from if he takes from knight from b6, then bishop g5 back, and all the same problems are. So he played very poor move, knight bd7. And bishop a4, king h7, somehow to get the queen to the game. The threat is just to take on d7 and knight e4 and d6. He wants to protect it from another side, maybe. King h7. Oh, sorry. Just bishop c6. Rook c7. Bishop g5. Rook c8. Now he blundered something. Rook c8. Bishop takes b7. rook takes and rook c6. And he cannot protect everything. He blundered here, he played rook b6. But okay, the pawn is fallen on d6 and the game is over, actually. We played rook b6 and after bishop takes f6, he is losing a piece. He cannot protect it. So losing a piece. So okay, it is a little bit strange game, eh? With knight g5 and d5. He would play right way knight a5 with knight a5 would be okay. But what he did, it was wrong. And the worst moment he chosen for h6. It was the worst one. But I can understand, it's very unpleasant, you don't know what to do. If you play, you lose h6, you lose time. If you don't play, it's very annoying. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you.
Thank you very
Listen
much.
to me, and thank you. Thank you. And so, the people say you don't play blitz. It means